Daniel was a waiter there. 26 years old. Quiet. Thin. Always polite. His uniform was slightly faded, and his shoes had been stitched twice. If you looked closely, you could see the exhaustion in his eyes, but you'd never hear him complain. Customers often noticed how gently he spoke, how carefully he placed plates on the table like they were something precious. Most people didn't know Daniel worked double shifts. They didn't know he skipped meals sometimes. They didn't know he sent most of his salary to his mother in another state who was sick and couldn't work anymore. And they definitely didn't know he hadn't bought anything new for himself in 3 years. That evening, the diner was unusually crowded. Families laughed. Office workers loosened ties. Plates clinked. The smell of grilled chicken and fresh bread filled the air. Daniel moved quickly from table to table, smiling politely, writing orders, refilling coffee. His manager, Mr. Lewis, watched from the counter. He trusted Daniel more than anyone. "If all my workers had your heart," he often said, "this place would be famous." Around 8 p.m., the bell above the door rang softly. A little girl walked in. She couldn't have been more than 8. Her coat was too thin for the weather, her sneakers were worn, and her hair was tied in a loose ponytail that looked like she'd done it herself. She stood near the entrance for a moment, clutching something in her hand, eyes scanning the room nervously. Most customers didn't notice her, but Daniel did. He approached slowly and crouched to her level so he wouldn't seem intimidating. "Hi there," he said gently. "Are you waiting for someone?" The girl shook her head. Her voice was small. "Can I buy food here?" Daniel smiled. "Of course you can." She opened her hand. In her palm were a few coins and 2 crumpled dollar bills. "How much is one meal?" she asked. Daniel glanced at the menu board. Even the cheapest dish cost more than what she held. He looked back at her face, hopeful, nervous, embarrassed all at once. "What would you like?" he asked. She pointed to a picture. "That one, the chicken plate. But if it's too much, I can just have bread." Daniel swallowed. "Have a seat," he said softly. "I'll bring it." She sat at a corner table, swinging her legs slightly, watching people eat. Daniel walked to the kitchen window and stared at the order pad. The chicken plate cost $12.49. The coins in her hand couldn't have been more than $3. Mr. Lewis noticed. "What's wrong?" he asked. Daniel hesitated. "Nothing." But his mind was racing. He knew the rules. Employees weren't allowed to give away food. The diner was barely surviving as it was. Last month they'd almost shut down. Still, he couldn't forget the girl's eyes. Without another word, Daniel reached into his pocket and quietly placed money from his own wallet into the register. Then he wrote the order. "1 chicken plate," he told the cook. When the dish was ready, he carried it carefully to the girl's table and set it down in front of her. Steam rose gently. The smell alone made her eyes widen. "Here you go," he said. Her face lit up like sunrise. "Thank you." She ate slowly at first, like she wanted to make it last forever. Then hunger took over. She finished every bite, even the vegetables most kids ignored. Daniel watched from a distance, pretending to wipe a nearby table. Something about her reminded him of his younger sister, the one he hadn't seen in years because he couldn't afford to visit. After she finished, she walked back to him and placed her coins carefully in his hand. "This is all I have," she whispered. "I'm sorry if it's not enough." Daniel closed her fingers gently over the money and shook his head. "It's perfect," he said. "You paid exactly what it cost." Her shoulders relaxed. Relief washed over her face. "Really? Really?" She smiled, a small, grateful smile. And then she did something no one expected. She hugged him. It was quick, shy, and sincere. Then she ran out into the night. Daniel stood frozen. He didn't know why his chest suddenly felt tight. The restaurant noise faded into the background. For a moment, it was just him, the door swinging slowly, and the warmth of that hug still lingering. But what happened next? No one in that diner was prepared for. 10 minutes later, the door opened again. This time, a man in a dark coat stepped inside. He looked around slowly, eyes scanning every table, every corner. He wasn't smiling. Behind him stood another man holding a small camera. Customers glanced up, curious. The man walked straight to Daniel. Are you the waiter who served a little girl just now? He asked. Daniel's stomach tightened. Yes, why? The man